Because we can't understand it, or I can't understand it, got to call in the king of branding himself, Jordan Zimmerman, founder, Chairman of Zimmerman Advertising. Jordan writes this awesome blog, You Sleep When You Die, which everyone should read. Jordan, you were talking about the Super Bowl. We touched on this. This is bigger than anything we've seen in a long time because many are arguing that the Republican Party is screwing this up.
Yes.
Why?
When you look at what's really happening right now, Tracy, is that they're destroying the integrity of each other.
Right.
Which ultimately destroys the integrity of the category. They forgot that they're brands. And they forgot they're united as one party under United brand of the Republican Party. And they're not acting like that. You know, if you remember, over a year ago, you and I spoke, and we spoke about mudslinging. And not only are we slinging mud then at the other parties, now we're slinging mud at each other. I mean, if you think about it, Santorum and also Gingrich was attacking Romney just over 2 weeks ago on free enterprise.
On the whole Bain Capital thing, actually, that got really ugly, and I think it disappointed a lot of Republicans because, as you said, the fighting within, but the party stands for capitalism.
Right.
And now you have members of the party, potential presidential candidates here, going against the beliefs of the party.
It was really interesting. You know, Obama spoke this morning, and it was interesting because if any of you heard him speak, he talked about that, you know, this recession has been going on way longer than 4 years. It was going on before that. So I don't know what he was looking at.
Right.
Okay, but if you remember before the 4 years in 2007, our economy was booming, 5, 6, 7. Housing sales were at an all-time high. People were speculating on real estate. What happened was the bubble burst. Right. And you know, and I know that happens when you have an unstable economy. But it gets much deeper. I mean, it's really deep right now because the economy is getting better, and Obama's taking credit for that. He doesn't control the economy. Free enterprise controls the economy. What he controls is the budget of Washington, D.C., which is getting worse by the day. He doesn't control it.
That's the problem, I think, is that by default, he will take credit for what is just a textbook economic cycle.
Correct.
What goes up, comes down, comes back up again. And here he happens to be on the upswing going into an election. So now, what do these guys have to do in the GOP to get this right? Because, you know, your notes are fantastic. You listed a bunch of their flubs. Romney saying he doesn't care about the poor. Gingrich telling black people to demand paychecks. I mean, this is like, to me, it's like screw-ups 101.
Correct.
Where's your speech, people?
And I really believe that if they focused on the main thing, I found, you know, Romney is a great candidate, being that he's done it in the free enterprise world. And he's crossed over and got into the world of politics, first with the Winter Olympics, and you know, and then he went right over from the Winter Olympics and ran for the governorship of Massachusetts and won as a Republican. But what he did there was nothing less than spectacular. He took a $3 billion deficit, reduced taxes 19 times, and at the same time that he reduced taxes 19 times, he reduced the deficit by what? Cutting government.
Right. And the thing is, he doesn't talk about that.
Correct.
He doesn't defend his record. And I'm not sure if it's because of the white cloud of the healthcare kind of screw up that happened up there.
Right.
Or black cloud, I should say. He didn't defend himself during the Bain Capital debates. He has not defended himself and come out and bragged about his record. I mean, this is what these guys are supposed to do.
He's a humble man, but there's a time when you're running for the highest office in America and the highest office in the world where you have to step out, and you have to be bold, and you have to talk about the accomplishments you had and give them to the world so the world knows. And what he did in Massachusetts is exactly what has to be done in Washington, D.C. Think about this. There's a $3.4 trillion budget next year in America.
Right.
We're only bringing in $2.2 trillion in revenue.
Right.
So we're going to start $1.2 billion, $1 trillion, $200 billion behind the 8 ball.
Right.
Before we go, first of all, we need to reduce our budget and start ahead of the game so we have, instead of a deficit, what do we have?
We have frustrated Americans is what we have, because I can't print money at home if I can't pay my bills.
Correct.
Right? So you have a government that just says, screw it, we could be $1 trillion in debt, we'll just print more money and we'll keep going. And again, because he'll have this turned economy, because he has this, you know, they're screwing around with the unemployment rate and all of a sudden that looks better. These guys are going to, they're not bringing enough to the table. Now, many are arguing that the plus to Newt Gingrich is that he's making Romney a fighter.
Right. And,
Maybe there's a good side to this whole thing.
But then again, can you believe anything Gingrich says?
Oh, no, he's crazy.
Right. I mean, he talks about reducing he balanced the budget 4 times. Did he really balance the budget 4 times? According to our research, he balanced it twice.
Well,
when he was
and
Speaker of the
there's
House.
the whole, we're all going to Mars or the moon or wherever. We'll have offices. We'll have lunch on Mars, I think, when he's the president. You got Ron Paul, who's also on the same sort of train.
Right.
So what are we doing with these guys?
I think what they have to do, one of them has to break out and has to make big, bold statements of what they're going to do. And not everybody's going to like it. When you cut jobs in Washington, people are going to get pissed. And you've got to feel the pain before we start to get better. And until we run this country like we run our great businesses, we will never have the success as a country that we once had. And we're putting ourselves farther behind the 8 ball, which will stop the growth that we're having right now in all the great sectors as the recovery is starting to happen.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Santorum. Man, he shakes hands, mommies and babies, and he just keeps winning. He's like the king of Caucasus.
Yes. And, look it. He has good likability.
Yeah.
But on the other end, what is the substance behind it? We really need to finally put a businessman or businesswoman with a proven track record in Washington, D.C. for the first time. We don't need another Washingtonite or another political candidate going to Washington. We need the real deal in Washington.
Okay, so let's say you're hired. I'm going to presume that you're as much in the Romney camp as you can be. You're hired by them to get him out there and be the guy. What would you tell him to do differently?
Well, I think I would tell him, first of all, I thought his tagline needed to be activated in a different way. I think that Romney needs to speak, I am Romney for the economy, and why. Talk about his success at Maine. Talk about his success at the Winter Olympics. Talk about his success in Massachusetts.
Oh, I like that. I am Romney for the economy.
Right. Romney
That's
for
good.
the economy. Hey, I should be in advertising.
Jesus. You should think about this, Jordan. But he needs a tax plan.
Yes.
He needs a spending plan. He needs all that.
Well,
how come we have nothing from
Well,
him?
if you think about it, Obama says he's going to raise taxes by $1.5 trillion. Where's he going to get the money to raise the taxes? Where's that coming from? And do we raise taxes in a time of crisis? Of course we don't. We reduce our budgets and we reduce our government and we start to become a better run country. And I think that is exactly what Romney has to do. But it's going to take a big, gutsy move on his part to make that happen and have the success and connect to the people the way that you and I are speaking about it now with that passion.
Right, because he's not connecting to us. Before I let you go, because I know we have to run, you're from Florida. What is pivotal to the Floridians right now?
I would say the economics of real estate in Florida. Housing is a debacle in Florida right now. The banks with the TARP money haven't done enough of the heavy lifting. They're not putting the houses back in the market quick enough. They're not writing them down and recognizing the write down on the books. The government isn't pushing them because it's only going to make the economy look worse. So the government is hiding behind it as well. That would be the thing I would push on. I would say we need to make sure that we have a plan to start to spur the housing market again, once again in Florida.
I think, Jordan, you should toss your hat in the ring at this point because at least we'd have some passion and power out on the campaign trail. Jordan Zimmerman, founder, chairman, Zimmerman Advertising. Follow him at JZ Speaks. Read the blog. You sleep when you die. And, of course, the website is zadv.com.
Thank you, Tracy. Good seeing you.
Thank you. It's great to see you. Jordan's going to run for office someday. You watch. You watch.